I just want to do a quick explanation video on the differences between principles and techniques, because I know I've mentioned both of those things in a few other videos, and I just want to clarify so that anybody watching this doesn't get confused on what I mean. Principles are foundational when dealing with most martial arts and most good fighting systems. Now, what that means is how you generate power, how you orient your body into where you're going to be able to successfully strike someone, they're not going to be able to successfully strike you, and so on and so forth. So two different metaphors I could use. One of them is a Christmas tree. The actual tree itself and the branches, those are the principles, and then the pretty ornaments that you hang on them, those are the techniques. And also, there was a type of language learning strategy back, I think, in the 50s or 60s, where children were taught specific words in an individual context, and you memorized those words and you knew what those words meant, but you weren't taught phonics in the sense that you don't necessarily know what a CH sound means, and you don't necessarily know what TH means or ER and all the rest of those. What you do know is this word and this other word, and it effectively just made you memorize a bunch of words, and kind of hopefully the idea was that would be enough to get you to read and write. The problem is, because you weren't taught the foundations of how words were put together, you couldn't sound anything out if a new word popped up. Same thing with martial arts techniques. If you just get taught techniques with no lower foundational principles or anything like that, then like a technique combination, you block and then you strike back. Let's say very, very simple, blocking, you strike back, but you block a strike to this side, you block that, and then you strike back. Well, you may be very, very good at that technique, but you got nothing if the attack comes in somewhere else, or a different type of attack, a swing rather than a thrust, or anything like that. But if you are taught foundational principles of how you receive hits, how you block, how you blend with the attack, and how you strike back, how you generate power, how you maneuver your weapon, all those are foundational principles, then if you find yourself confronted with something that you've never seen before, because you can fall back on your principles, you can adapt and you can overcome that new challenge. Now, that's not to say that people who were taught techniques and were taught a lot of techniques got very, very good at those techniques. That's not to say they're not good fighters or they're not dangerous fighters. They are. They can be perfectly masterful of 1,000 techniques. But the problem is, humans are ever adaptable, and the world is a chaotic place. If you take a master of 1,000 techniques and you throw the 1,001st thing that they've never seen before, they're screwed. Right? They've lost right then, because you've presented them with something they don't know. But if someone, let's say they've mastered 10 techniques, but they've also mastered the principles of movement, the principles of combat, whatever you want to call it. But if they are principally minded, if they've got a good foundation, then they can adapt to new situations. And they can get better and better, and they can survive, and they can learn. So hopefully that's a good explanation of principles versus techniques. They're both important, but you generally want to focus on principles rather than building technique after technique after technique, or at least focus on principles first and then build the techniques on top of a sturdy foundation.